We just started last week going through the main arguments for the existence of God, right? And what's the reason we're doing this, you guys think? Why are we spending time going through information that you may think, like after, especially after what Taylor just showed you, you may think, well, why is it relevant? What's the relevance to looking at whether or not you think God really exists? What would you say? Whatever you do, don't talk up. The worst thing you can do is say anything. We want to be quiet. Just let me lecture and you sit here and whatever. I mean, why are we doing this? Right. So this idea, just think about like when you read Psalm 2. Psalm 2 always cracks me up because it talks about this idea of God the Father with the Son in heaven laughing at the earth while the earth is doing what they're doing, right? Because they're mocking him. So how do you think God feels right now about with America? If you were just to think about, he's the creator of the universe, right? And he's looking at a little speck here in America, and he's watching how we're living. What do you think he's doing? Or how do you think he feels?
Angry.
Huh?
I would have said angry, like that verse that says he's angry with the wicked every day.
Okay, so he's like, hey, I'm going to hold off in the Middle East for now, and I'm going to come over here to New Jersey and California. Gavin Newsom, I just want to drop a bomb on this guy. Is that what he's doing? He's like looking like that? What do you think?
I think he cares infinitely, but at the same time, in his sovereignty, he's unfazed. So it's like he is God sovereign, and so he can look at that and go, it's almost like him looking at him, like you do the thing, okay, but like I'm this. But at the same time, he infinitely cares about us, so he's going to be involved in it.
Right. So you've got Hebrews in chapter 1 where it says, at the beginning of Hebrews it says, that God, who in times past spoke to us through the fathers and the prophets. All right? So when the writer of Hebrews is saying that, what does he mean? You guys kill me. You can't be that tired. You got all this chocolate. You got all this candy. When you're speaking to someone, what does that imply? You're engaged, right? So Hebrews chapter 1 doesn't say God, who in times past sat back in his throne and watched all the chaos and occasionally sent somebody to go straighten people out. It doesn't say that. It says God in his times past spoke to us through the prophets. So he's actively engaged. And how was it back at that time when the prophets were going around talking to the nations? Were they checking in going, you guys are awesome, you're doing a great job. Here, have a bag of chocolate. We just want you to know you're really kicking it this month. What was going on? He was laying it down. He was saying actually things like, explain to them what a prostitute is, because I want them to understand, because that's who they are. Explain to them about their neighbors who are pagan, who if you would just go talk to them, might actually be interested in following me. Explain to them about the fact that I'm about to send a pagan nation to put you in captivity because you're so against me, you're actually living according to them. So he's actively engaged all through the Old Testament. But it's different now probably in America. He's probably not paying any attention. Things have changed, right? God's probably like, whatever, I'll just nuke him pretty soon, or, you know. Do you think he's engaged?
Yes.
How?
Well, I mean, one example would be, who's the Speaker of the House? Mike Johnson. Yeah, so here, I don't really pay attention like I should. But I didn't know who that guy was, and I was like,
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. I apologize for this, but I'm talking about God being engaged, and immediately you're going to the government. All right? And you're going to media and what you see on TV.
oh, okay.
All right? I just want to know how you see God engaged in America today. Is he engaged through you with your neighbor, or is he engaged in your life at work? Do you see God acting in certain situations in the country? Do you feel compelled in certain things you're doing? Now, why am I talking about you and not a prophet? Because the Old Testament, God said he worked through prophets. Do you see prophets walking around? Why not? Why?
Before Christ died, he said that when he's done, he's going to be an advocate for us. That advocate is the Holy Spirit, and it lives within us. So we don't need prophets anymore. We have Christ within you.
All right, so the Holy Spirit, did he exist in the Old Testament? Yeah? In a different way, but he existed. If you finish reading Hebrews, the first verse, I only quoted you the first half of it. The second half says, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son. So in the first half in the Old Testament, God spoke to us through the prophets. Now, after the cross, after the revelation of Jesus Christ, his resurrection, he speaks to us through his Son. And the New Testament says the one who testifies of his Son is the Holy Spirit. So what you have now is Jesus himself testifying through the Holy Spirit. So does that mean Jesus is showing up and he's like, at the White House going, hey, everybody, calm down. I want Chip Roy speaking more. I mean, how does this work?
He wants all of us to speak as his witness.
He wants you, and I know we think that way, and it's okay. We think like we have to do something, right? We think, I got to go do something or whatever. You know what he really says? I want you to get out of my way. I want you to just be obedient, and I want you to just follow me, trust me. I will prompt you when I want to speak through you. I'll let you know. I had this great situation happen this week, and gets me so excited talking about these kind of things because they happen a lot. If you ever get Amazon delivered, if you ever do Marketplace, Craigslist, all that stuff, I hired a guy to come in, and they came, Mr. Electrical's company, these guys came in, and they worked on my lights, and I literally said to him, I gotta tell you, I just feel so prompted every time that I have an opportunity, I want to share with you something. And they're like, what? And I said, do you have any idea what's going to happen when you die? We talked for 40 minutes. It was great. Then I went to a garage to pick up a bed for my wife, one of those garages in Odessa. What do you call those things? Storage shed. And it's a Muslim. And just to give you an idea, when I say the word Muslim, what do you think of?
People think like Hamas.
Right. We think of Middle East. This guy cracked me up. He's like your cafeteria Catholic, except he's Muslim. I asked him the same question. He goes, well, I'm Muslim, but to tell you the truth, I don't really follow it. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I did have to practice Ramadan because my family thought I should be involved, but I don't pray 5 times towards Mecca every day, and I really don't pay much attention to it. This is America. We think it's just Christians. All people are like so secularized, we don't even see Jesus Christ at work. And I looked at him, and I shared the gospel, and I said, have you ever heard about this stuff? He goes, oh, yeah. I go, what does it mean to you? He goes, I'm kind of busy. I'm going, and I literally said to him, because he and I got along great, I said, you're just a knucklehead. How can you say that? We're talking about eternity. You're selling me a bed, and you're thinking this isn't that important. I bring this up because when we go through these evidences for God, the worst thing that we can do as Christians is just hope he exists, right? And think to ourselves, well, I'm not sure if it exists, but I have faith. And as long as I have faith, I'm gonna cling to God. And the minute you step outside a church, if that's your attitude, you'll do nothing because it's so against you. This culture is so in your face. It's so anti-Christ that if you don't feel compelled or excited that you know he's real, you're not going to say anything. Because what are you going to say? Well, I think he's real and I feel good about it, but I'll just pray for you. Good luck. You're probably going to go to hell, though. What are you going to do? So this is, to me, super important because the goal is for us to think through these things, to look at it and realize we're talking reality. Reality is not COVID vaccines and the border and all that. That stuff, over the next few years, it's going to come and go. Things come and go. New things are going to come up. Different things are going to come and go. Christ never changes. This is real, and he really exists, and people are going to live and die and never know it. So I always treat this real seriously. I wish more people were as excited as we are. You know, we're here. I wish more people cared. I think more people are excited to do something in church, to be involved. But I think most people aren't sure why. And I think that's what keeps them in church and never gets them in the culture. Am I making sense? Okay.